year 2, Conversation with the Cooks. Thank you from myself, and I know Coach Cook, you're thankful as well, but thank you to everyone for just your continued support and, tuning in or viewing these podcasts every month, or these episodes every month, our podcast. We really appreciate it, and we have a lot of fun doing this together, and it's good father-daughter bonding, right?
Absolutely.
And without your support, we couldn't keep this going. So thank you for a great year 1. Here we are in year 2. I want to know if you could use one word to describe how the past year has been podcasting with me, what word would you use?
Trying to get over my anxiety of having confessions.
Okay, that's like 10 words.
Oh.
Okay, so anxiety maybe?
No.
Anxious?
No, this is energizing.
Energizing. Okay, I like that. Love that. I just want you to know, I have my Coach Cook green smoothie with me today in honor of you.
I'm impressed.
I know. Followed the recipe that the training table provided, I think on their Twitter account, and it's pretty good. It's the first time I've had it.
We just got shut down on the training table, so no smoothies.
I know. We're going to talk about that. And I also want to explain, you're back up in the mountains, which is why we're not sitting side by side. The format that if anyone tuned in last month, the format we were side by side. Now we're back on the Zoom call because you're up in the mountains due to just everything going on and the season being canceled for the fall. So we're gonna get into that. But before we do, I'm still reeling from Yellowstone last night. It took me like a solid 30 minutes after the season finale ended for me to like catch my breath, calm down, like try to figure out if they're going to have a season 4, what season 4 is going to entail. Were you all worked up?
Not really, Lauren, because up here at your brother's house, he doesn't have TV, so we're trying to stream it. The sound wouldn't work. It was all off, so it was so anticlimactic. But the cell phone, I think, is going to be a key saving John Dutton. So,
well, yeah, because the bullet, it showed well, we don't want to give it away for people who haven't seen it.
So anyway.
Go watch Yellowstone, go watch the season finale. And you know what? I read if they do come out with season 4, which I'm assuming they will because it's so popular, it won't happen until next summer. So summer 2021. Right. So we have to wait a whole year.
Right. Well, yeah, 9 months. 9 months, I guess. Or 10 months. 10 months, yeah.
I can't wait that long. Okay.
I read a thing. They're already starting on it.
Oh, on filming?
Yeah, they film in the fall.
Oh.
So you notice they always have jackets on. You can see a little light snow in the mountains.
Yeah, and the leaves are all pretty colors.
Yep.
Okay. I also want to explain the guest setup. I know we talked about bringing on a guest for each episode in year 2, but it's not going to happen this episode. And that is solely because of how much we have to cover with everything that has transpired over the past few weeks. I guess in the month of August, with your season being moved, decisions that have been made. So we just have to talk through all of that. And I know Husker Nation really, they have questions, they want answers, they want to be informed. They've heard a lot about what's going on with football, but I feel like we haven't seen a lot about what's happening with volleyball. So we're going to talk about all of that and get Husker Nation's questions answered. So you ready?
Well, Lauren, I'm just worried that social media is going to start blowing up. You're going to get blown up because we're not having a guest on. So people were super fired up about that. So I'm just right now, as soon as this is coming out, the thing's going to be blowing up. Probably shut down Twitter.
No, so fans did want to hear about the reasoning behind why you want a spring season and your thoughts on a spring season. So we will be covering one of the topics that was requested. We just won't have Russ on, but Russ, fingers crossed, will be on the next episode.
Okay.
Okay, so wait for Russ next month or another exciting guest, but I promise we will have a guest on next month. Okay, so just talk us through, I guess, this past month and what has happened. I know they made a decision. Well, you guys tell us how you started the month of August with I mean, you were practicing like you were having a season, and then take us through when some of these decisions were made, how you were informed, and then kind of what you did with the girls and your staff and where you guys are at now.
Well, we, of course, had all of our players back in the summer. We went through our summer and got them peaked, ready to go to start training in August. And we started off, had 4 great practices. And then
when did you start? August 5th, August 4th?
Like August 5th, yeah.
Okay.
So anyway, we're geared up, machines rolling.
You were impressed too. I remember you were telling me like the girls look good.
Yeah, 4 great practices. And then I get a call from Pat Logston saying, hey, you either need to cancel practice or go light. I'm like, Pat, we've never had a light practice in my entire coaching career. What do you mean light? She goes, well, football's just running around, only helmets. I'm like, okay, well, we don't wear helmets, so how are we going to go light? So anyway, by then the girls were all worked up, and because they were reading on social media, so I just said, okay. I asked the captains, do you guys want to practice today? They go, no. So we shut it down, and then I went into planning mode for Plan B, and because we weren't in school yet, and we still had a couple weeks, and anticipating we were going to have a spring season, I just immediately shut everything down. Told the players, if you want to go home, now's the time to go, because who knows when we'll have a break. We might have a break. We'll have some time off at Christmas. That'll be our next break, and it could be a long year. So we're going to give you time to take a break right now. So they were all literally in the next day, were all on their way home.
And now
of course, all the announcements came out that fall was canceled, and we're looking at spring, and so we wanted to give them time off. And then the first week of school was also online, so they could still stay at home that week. And of course, starting on August 24th, they have classes in the classroom. Some of them are still going to be all online, but everybody's back or on their way back, and we'll start training on August 31st.
Okay, so you are going to begin training on August 31st. What will that look like?
So what we are anticipating, we haven't been told officially, but typically the way the spring goes, which we never do because we play beach, you're allowed 8 hours per week. So 4 of that can be in the gym, 4 of that can be in the weight room. So we're actually going to start off going about 6 hours a week in the weight room, 2 hours in the gym, and then we'll start transferring that to a 4-to-4 ratio. And then Lauren, I just went through it all today, but on October 26th, we'll start what we call our 20 hours per week. We get 6 weeks of 20 hours a week, just like you're in season. And we'll start that on October 26th and go all the way to when the Final Four would have been played, which was December 19th. And we'll take a break for finals over Thanksgiving.
I want you to be honest with me. What was your initial reaction when you heard that the season was going to be pushed to the spring? Were you relieved? Were you, a little upset? Give me your honestly, how you felt and what your reaction was.
I was relieved because we knew we were starting practice, and we didn't have a schedule. So you're starting practice, you don't even know what your schedule is, and we're supposed to start in 3 weeks. So it was actually a relief just to know, okay. And I was saying in all the meetings that I was a part of, what would be easier? Waiting until February to start a season and trying to figure everything out and get everything down by then, or trying to start a season in 3 weeks? And with all the unknowns that we have. So for me, it was a relief because, as you know, I like to plan and have a master plan, and going day to day, not knowing, it's, changing by the day, and that was the thing that what frustrated football and all the football fans was they got a schedule, and 6 days later they canceled the season. We hadn't even got a schedule yet. So you can imagine the pent-up frustration and everything with all that. And now we can at least plan and make a plan for this fall right now that we can control, that we're in charge of, And, we gave our players time off, which I didn't want to do because they were in great shape. We had several players break records in the performance index testing. We had seven players got in the 2,000 point club. So we were really happy with what they did in the summer with everything going on. So we felt like we got to a really good place. But you also have to factor in, they've got to have breaks. You don't want to burn them out, because if we go all the way to April, May for a championship, it could be a really long year.
How did the girls react? And then how did your staff react?
My coaches were, they were loving it. We were loving being in the gym. We were loving being in practice. The girls were loving it. But also, I think our players were also, I think, more, especially, and again, I didn't talk to our freshmen. They don't know any different. But talking to our seniors and our captains, I think they were like me. They were relieved to know that, okay, we're just not going through the motions right now, and wondering if we're going to play. And that was the other big worry was, and I think this is with our seniors especially, we're going to start this season and play, and then it's going to get canceled. And then is that it for their senior year? And that was the big worry. That was the fear, that the biggest fear was, we're going to get started. Maybe Nebraska's okay, but all of a sudden everything else starts shutting down, and then we have to stop our season. So at least now we have several months to prepare and to figure out the COVID more and see what happens with the students coming back. And that was my other big worry was, when all the students return to campus, what was that going to do? So we have 3 freshmen living in the dorms. We got them all out. They're living out off campus right now until we figure out if this is going to be an outbreak and students are going to not party and, create outbreaks within the dorms and on campus. That's why you see the chancellor pleading with everybody, be safe, but you're also seeing other schools shut down because they're having parties, they're kicking people out. And it's just really, it's a really tough deal. So we're trying to be as protective as we can.
I do have to give you credit, because back in, I think it was maybe March, I was asking you if you thought you were going to have a season this fall. And you said, I really think that they're going to end up moving it to the spring. I mean, you were predicting that back in, this last spring, that this was all going to happen. So I think the reason you and your staff and your players took this so well is because you had prepared them. Hey, this is a strong possibility, and this is likely what's going to happen. And so I think that, going into the training this summer and into your first few practices for the fall, I think they all kind of were prepared for their season to be canceled and then move to the spring.
Yeah, we've been trying to work hard on our mindset, because otherwise you're going to be so disappointed. There's going to be so many ups and downs. And so just trying to create that mindset. And it really goes back to how we train and how we approach competition. Is we're just going to focus on one point at a time, or winning that next drill, or win the day. And we're not worried about what's going to happen tomorrow, because we don't know, and it's out of our control. So, again, we've got a veteran team, and our 3 freshmen are like veterans, Ani, Kaylin, and Keolani. They're so mature, and they fit so well right into our group. So they handle it really well too.
Okay. Speaking of the seniors, I know you've had some chats with them, and the NCAA just came out and said that they're going to grant all seniors an extra year of eligibility, regardless. I mean, they could play this spring and then still come back in the fall, correct? Next fall?
Yeah. So Lauren, it's not only the seniors, it's everybody. So everybody gets another year.
Okay. So
wrap your head around that.
Okay. Question A.
So you're a high school junior right now, or a high school senior, and all of a sudden the whole team, or even a high school sophomore, and all of a sudden Nebraska and every other college team, everybody just backs up 1 year on the clock.
Okay. I thought it was just seniors. That's interesting, because a lot of high school players will make decisions on where to go to school based on who's graduating and what spots will be available. So I guess question A is mainly, since the seniors are the ones who are going to be graduating, do you know, will any seniors be back, or anybody from the senior class be back for fall of 2021? And then question B, how does this affect the classes that you recruited, especially, I mean, you have a stud 2021 class, an amazing 2022 class. I mean, you have some really good classes coming in. Have you talked with those players, and are they still planning on coming to Nebraska? Give us the situation there.
Well, I'll answer the B first. Yes, we've talked to all of our recruits, and we've reassured them that nothing changes, and I think they're all really excited to get here. And we're planning on having some come as early as January.
Can you say who's coming in January?
No. Well, I could, but I would get fired. So.
Can I say who's coming in
and
January?
Then how am I gonna, pay your phone bill if I get fired? So.
Oh, geez.
So anyway, so that's that issue. So we've got that kind of resolved and talked to those guys. Obviously they've had a lot of questions. Now our seniors, I don't know. I think it's going to determine on what kind of spring season we have. And probably one of your questions you're going to ask me is, what's the spring going to look like? And the NCAA said they want to have a spring championship and have an NCAA championship, but they want to have a reduced championship. So they've thrown out only 16 teams, 32 teams with all automatic qualifiers. That means only one team from the Big Ten would get in. You want to see an uproar about that.
Yeah. Well, because then you have a team from a lower level conference that can't even hang in the Big Ten conference, and they get in. But let me ask you this question. How are we going to have a championship if conferences like the SEC, Big 12 are still practicing right now and planning on having a season this fall? Will they also have a season in the spring and then have a championship then, or will they have a championship, or there's not going to be a championship in the fall, right?
Right.
So what does that look like for conferences who are planning on having a season this fall?
So under the rules, you're allowed 28 play days. Basically, that's what a season is 28 competition days. So I think what those conferences are going to play about 9 to 10 matches this fall, which will leave them 20 in the spring. Right now, if we go conference only, we're shooting for 20 conference matches and then a tournament. So they're just going to get extra matches. Are the coaches that aren't playing in the fall happy about that? I don't think so. But they can do what they want, and so they're going to have a little bit of advantage.
I'm going to back up. You said that some incoming freshmen from the 2021 class will be here in January.
That is the plan as of today, yeah.
But you can't say who.
Right.
I mean, how does that affect your spring season? You have this stellar returning team with a lot of veterans, and then you have some really good younger players coming in. I mean, you're going to have some competition in your gym.
Yeah, it's, and like I said, wrap your head around all this. This is going to be roster management nightmares. And, I was talking to the Wisconsin coach. They have 6 seniors, that start and play.
Retke, Hilly.
Yeah. So, he's got a loaded senior class, and
yeah,
we do too. I mean, we have four seniors that have played and are All-Americans, and so it's going to be really interesting. And so to answer your question, I don't know what our seniors will do. The good news is for the freshmen that come in, but here's the choice. Do they stay at home and try to play club? They don't even know they're going to be able to play club. They haven't been playing volleyball, and some of them are coming from states that aren't playing fall high school volleyball. So they're going to go almost a year without playing volleyball. So to me, it's a no-brainer to get to college. Worst case, you go through practice training. They're going to make our gym better, and it doesn't cost them a year. And they can, if they're good enough to play, they can play. So yes, there's going to be a lot of competition. There's going to be some roster management challenges for all volleyball coaches and fall sports, and especially I think football could end up having a whole nother recruiting class, next fall above and beyond the 150 guys they already have. So there's going to be a lot of tough decisions, conversations. You're going to find out who really wants to play. But with Lexi and Lauren, they graduate in December, and that creates a whole nother issue for them. They potentially going to have to stay in school for another year to be eligible to play. So we're working on some options, which we can talk about at a later podcast, for options for them on how they can manage post-graduation and still play volleyball at Nebraska and go through a meaningful full season. Because for them, you might think, oh, they're seniors, so they get their deal. But for them, they're trying to get pro contracts. Right. So as you know, Lauren, it's like the guys trying to go in the NFL or NBA. If you're not playing for a year, your stock's going to go way down. And we're talking, these guys are going overseas for contracts. Well, if they don't see us playing in the Final Four, in big matches, and haven't seen them play for a year, they're not just going to be firing off contracts, these guys. So there's a lot riding on the line for them as well.
I think someone brought up the example of Joe Burrow. I mean, no one knew who he was over a year ago, and then he had this amazing senior season, and he's a #1 draft pick, and making all this money, and has really established a name for himself. So just think about if we were to rewind and this were to happen, over a year ago, he wouldn't have the notoriety that he has now.
Right.
I think that's a great example, and it applies to volleyball too, because these girls are trying to get pro contracts or go to the national team. I mean, it's an Olympic year next 2021 next summer, so there's a lot on the line.
There is a lot on the line, and I'm so proud of Lauren and Lexi, because both of them, Lauren improved her vertical. I mean, think about it, she's been here almost 5 years now, and her vertical went to an all-time high. Lexi went up almost 300 points on the performance index test and had a personal record for her performance index. So you can tell those are two players that are really motivated and overcame all the COVID challenges, worked really hard, and they get to this point and it's all shut down. So, but as when you're a senior, it's your last shot. And if you're trying to get a contract to play after college, you got to have a great senior year.
Right.
So for them, there's a lot on the line, and it's going to be really interesting how all this shakes out. But you're right. Potentially, we could have our practices could be like Big Ten matches.
Yeah, it stresses me out just thinking about the competition that's going to be in that gym, and you guys having to manage all these rosters, and it's going to affect you for the next few years. And
so the strong will survive, and the cream will rise to the top. And as a coach, you love the idea of potentially having a really high level gym. I mean, that's what makes coaching really fun. I mean, there's a lot of great things about coaching, but when you're going at practice in the super high level, I mean, that's the ultimate.
I'm stressed out, and you're back there just living your best coaching life. Like, I have all this great competition in the gym. I can do all these amazing drills. Last thing about the spring season, last question. Well, this is a 2-part question. The first part is, you've harped about this for the past few years about how you want to move volleyball to the spring. Okay, so why is that? Actually, this is a 3-part question. So why do you want to move it to the spring? Why is spring better than fall? And then question number 2, how does it affect the beach season? Does that just go away for you guys? Or do players have the option to play beach or play indoor? And then question number 3, do you think that the spring season is even possible, or do you think this is going to take a lot of time, and we're going to be, treading water for a while because no one knows what's going on, and it's just too difficult to make a decision. And it's going to happen like how the fall did, where we, back in the spring, we were talking about, okay, how can we make a fall season work? And then decisions weren't made, and it ultimately got postponed. Do you think the spring season will get postponed as well?
Well, I think we have a lot better chance playing the spring than we did in the fall. And it's going to depend on how this thing goes, how the winter goes, vaccines and all that stuff. So how, as there's a lot of pro sports going on right now, like the Tour de France is getting ready to go. There's pro sports all over. Tennis is going.
They're all in bubbles.
I know. And so can we create some type of bubble? And by next spring, we may be able to figure that out, how we can do that. Because I know this, football is trying to do that. They're trying to figure out how they can bubble up and go. So, and the testing is going to get better. And already this week, they came out with a saliva test. It's immediate. It's $3 a person. So that was another big concern, is how do we test all these athletes? And this is what the problem with the NCAA Fall Championships is. They would have had to have done, I think, for Fall Championships, something like 86,000 tests, at $100 a pop. And then, you're taking away tests from people that may need it. So it was mind-boggling. And then I think if you throw in all the other divisions, it was over 200,000 tests. So just getting rid of that is a big stress. Now we get the saliva test, for example, that's going to make an easier path to have a spring championship. So I think our odds are a lot better, and I think we're working toward that. And I feel pretty confident that we can have some type of spring. Moving volleyball to the spring, I've been promoting that for about 15 years. The reason I think volleyball is best in the spring is, one, it gets us away from football. And right now we have a big issue. If we have football, a lot of schools on the same day as a volleyball game and a football game, they have to move the volleyball game. So, Nebraska, we pull it off because we're Nebraska. And, our fans love sports. They have no problem going to a football game and then a volleyball game. And our event people have no problem making that happen. So we can pull it off, but there's a lot of places that don't and don't want to. So it gets us away from football. The other thing is, volleyball is only 12 scholarships. So if you scholarship a libero, that means you only have 11 players really, to scrimmage. Because, if you think about a team, you got a team and then a libero, so it's really 7 players that are playing. Well, and we have to rely on freshmen. So now, like this year with going to the spring, we love it. We get to train now all fall, train our freshmen, develop our players. So I think you're going to see a lot higher level volleyball in the spring than normally in the fall, because, and probably starting off right away, I think the level is going to be really good, because all these coaches and programs have had a chance now to develop players for, 4 months. So I think it would help that in the spring. There's also a lot less competition for TV, for media. Just think of all the opportunities for all those things to develop and blossom with volleyball when you get away from football. And then eventually in the spring, you'd get away from basketball. So April, May would be baseball, softball, track, and volleyball. And so there would be a tremendous opportunity, I believe, for TV, for promotion, and helping. Now, we sell out, but it would help all these other programs. They don't have to choose between basketball, football. And you got to remember, Lauren, and people don't realize this, basketball starts practicing October 1st. They start games in middle of November. And if you watch the TV schedule for volleyball in the Big Ten, there's matches on all the time. Once we get to November, you're watching Ohio State men's basketball play, Iona on a Wednesday night or a Saturday. And then you got all these football games. And then you go into playoffs and NBA, hockey, football, basketball. And then you try to have a Final Four right before the Christmas. To me, it's nuts. Do all this in the spring. Then you've got a Final Four in early May, mid-May. What else is going on? You're in front of the Indy 500. NBA's kind of wrapping up. Football's over. It's just
baseball.
so many. It's. I don't know, to me, it's just a way better schedule. So then everybody says, okay, what do we do with beach? Well, you move beach to the fall. So beach starts in August, September, October, and everybody who wants to do beach can do beach. Right now, Big Ten, we're the only school in the Big Ten that does beach, and we're the farthest west and the farthest south of all the Big Ten schools, so we technically have the best weather. So we promote that and recruit that. We're the warm weather school of the Big Ten, but everybody in the Big Ten could do beach. Everybody who lives in the north could do beach, because if you did it in the fall, you would have the weather that you could do it. And right now, you cut out the top half of the United States because of weather. So by having beach when it's in the, starts in March, April, and ends in early May. So if I was commissioner for the day, put me in charge and we'll make that happen.
Yeah, maybe that's life after volleyball. You'll become a Big Ten commissioner.
Yeah, I don't think that's happening, but it makes a lot of sense.
It does. I agree with you.
Yeah.
Another big announcement that happened last week, which you touched on this when we, the very beginning of this episode, was Bill Moose said, we're shutting down the training table, we're furloughing employees, cutting salaries. Have any of your staff members been furloughed?
No.
Okay. How do you feel about closing down the training table? And to me, the training table is essential, especially if you're still having athletes on campus. They're still doing, maybe it's not 20 hours of training a week, but it's still 8 hours, and it will eventually work up to 20 hours. But he said the training table is shut down through December. So what are they supposed to do for meals? Trying to balance schoolwork and then training and then workouts, and, then you have to go home and cook yourself your own dinner.
So first of all, the furlough part, I think anybody who was working when we're having events, and now there are no events for fall, so that was kind of the group that we got furloughed. Otherwise we're still recruiting, we still got stuff going on, we're still training. So for us, it's a normal spring, but it's flipped to the fall. The training table is like a punch in the gut. And again, we're trying to save money. And so the athletes still will get money in their scholarship checks. They'll get money put back in that normally is taken out to run training table. So they'll still have that money, but they're going to have to learn how to cook. So I think it's beautiful. Or they're going to be going to a lot of fast food places, which
That's
is not
what I
beautiful.
worry about.
Yeah. And so they're going to have to learn how to be athletes that learn how to take care of themselves, learn how to cook, eat right. If they cheat the system, it'll, as we say, complacency will come back to collect. And so we're going to do a big educational part. And Nuwani, our nutritionist, educates them anyway, but it makes it so much easier time-wise and everything to have that training table. And I really hope that, I think what's going to happen is our athletes are really going to learn to appreciate the training table now that it's taken away. And I think some of them take it for granted and, don't go to meals all the time. Of course, Nebraska volleyball, they pay for it if they skip a meal. They have to physically pay for it. Financially pay for it. We make them pay that, whatever that cost of that meal was.
I think it's $8.
They're going to really appreciate it. And we're used to eat lunch there every day. And it's, the other thing that we'll miss is the social part. Because that is it's like having a family meal every day. And we have meetings over there and sit with our players, and all that's taken away as well. So like I said, it's a punch in the gut.
Is mom going to have to make you little paper sack lunches every day?
Yeah, that's what I'm planning on.
Or maybe we should get you a lunch box.
Yeah.
A cute little lunch box.
Yeah.
Maybe a Pearl Jam lunch box.
That would be awesome.
And when you open it to take out your sandwich, it plays Pearl Jam music.
Yeah.
That's a great idea right there. I wonder if those exist.
Yeah. Love it.
So what would, if mom had to pack you a lunch, what would be in that lunch?
Well, I actually yesterday made my own lunch, peanut butter and jelly, and But my stomach wasn't ready for that because I'm used to having salad, smoothie. Uh, so, so I don't know. I'm thinking about how, with all what are those Yeti cups and those, well, I don't know what else they call them. Yeah. Yeah, right there. Is that a Yeti?
Yeah.
You can make a shake in that thing and take it for lunch. So I'm probably gonna have to fire up. I think we're looking at a new blenders. Costco has some pretty cool ones. So get a blender, make smoothie, and then probably take salads.
I've heard Vitamix is a great blender for smoothies.
Okay. Well, like I said, we looked at Costco the other day, and I got to research a little bit more, but now we know we got a semester of making our own meals.
Yeah. So training table won't open until 2021.
Right now, it's shut down to the end of the year, so we'll see what happens in January. And again, it's all going to depend on if we are playing sports. So the next hope right now is basketball can start in December, and they've got a great window because we get out of school end of November. So essentially basketball can bubble for almost maybe 7 weeks because school's out. So they can bubble those guys. Basketball coaches are working on how to play. So that's great. Now we got to figure out how to get football playing. And I love the idea of football playing in the winter. We're starting in January. And again, we can bubble at Nebraska. We can bubble the month of December with all of our sports that are playing. And I love the idea of them playing in indoor stadiums in the Big Ten. That would be awesome. It'd be awesome for TV. If they can have fans, it would be awesome for fans. So we could do it because in the Big Ten, they've got Minneapolis has indoor, Indianapolis, Detroit. There might be others that I don't know if Chicago's outdoors. So anyway, there's these opportunities to play, run out Jerry Dome down there in Dallas, have a football game. So, I mean, it'd be pretty cool.
Do you think, I know you said you think we're going to be able to make a spring season work. Do you think there will be fans in the stands?
Yes.
Okay, so you think that's possible?
Yeah, and let's hope high school's doing it right now in Nebraska. And
but it's just immediate family, right?
Well, but I know there's a football game going on. They're going to depending on where you go, they allow more people. But the fact that that's going in high school, there was club tournaments this summer. The fans were sitting there in the bleachers like normal. So as long as we keep proving we can do that, I think it enhances our opportunity to have fans. So, but I can just tell you, with the reactions of Bill Moose and our administration, Nebraska will push the envelope on what we can do. And I think, one thing I've learned, or just watching, Lauren, is I feel like people in the Midwest, and I'm plugging the Midwest here, and this is why we wanted to live in the Midwest, and raise you and your brother in the Midwest and be at Nebraska. I just think people in the Midwest tend to follow instructions and, do the right thing. And and they think about other people than just themselves. And the horror stories I hear going on in other places in other parts of the country blows my mind. So I'm plugging the Midwest right now, and our fans and and the communities that we live in are giving us our best chance to get back to normal.
There truly is no place like Nebraska.
Yep.
As cheesy as that saying is. Okay. Last question before we get to your favorite of lessons and confessions. Abby Johnson, we saw she went into the transfer portal. Can you touch on anything there? She was a freshman. She was on campus. Went through some workouts. I don't know if she went through any practices. And then we saw earlier this month she entered the transfer portal.
Yeah, so I'll call her the COVID case. This is a collateral damage from COVID. So Abby was going to walk on our program. We went through the recruiting process with her. She comes from a small town in Illinois, and she's way behind. Okay, so COVID knocked her out of club. So she was going to play on a nice club team in really good competition. She needed that year to develop. That was taken away. She also what I loved about Abby is her parents aren't helping her go to college. She has to pay her way. She turned down scholarships to come to Nebraska, and she was working 3 jobs to help save money to come to Nebraska. Well, COVID took all that away. So now you've got somebody who hasn't played club and doesn't have the money. So she kind of indicated, like, I can't, unless I can get a scholarship, I'm going to have to probably leave Nebraska. And so we said, okay, then your best time is right now. Don't wait until spring, because who the heck knows what's going to happen. So she went in the portal, had all kinds of attention, and she's ended up going to get a full scholarship. She's going to Bradley University, where actually Amber Ralston right now is the director of ops there. So we've got a little Nebraska connection there to help her fit in. And she's already living there. They're starting practice, and it worked out great for her. And so I call her, this is one of the fallouts from the COVID situation. There's been a lot of fallout, but there's one that impacts the recruit. And so anyway, it really has worked out great for her. And she'll be close to home like she was here. And she'll have a chance to play sooner there. And again, what I've learned is, and this is why I admire Lauren and Lexi so much, that you have to be a super motivated player, and you have to have great personal discipline to go through this COVID and maintain your conditioning and stay in shape. And what I saw, these high school kids that came in, our freshman group that came in, Abby being one of them, well, they haven't done anything for months, and it really showed. So they were really way behind. And, so for somebody that's coming already behind because of where they're from and their high school and club situation, that really impacted that even further. So it almost like set her back a year. And now our freshmen are slowly catching up, but they were way, way behind, farther than any freshman class I've ever seen.
But they'll get there.
Yeah, they'll get there. And Brian, our strength coach, will get them there. But
Brian's
it's just,
the man.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is, it's hard in the COVID situation.
Right.
For, it takes a really mature, motivated person to stay on top of it.
Hopefully within the next few months, COVID will just disappear. You can have a full spring season, and we get to watch all these amazing players play for Nebraska.
Yeah, so that's what we're hoping for.
Okay. All right. Do you have a lesson and a confession?
You're not doing yours first, because now I have to think about this.
I thought for year 2 we'd switch it up and you could go first.
Oh gosh.
But I can still go first if you need time to think.
Yeah, I hate this. This is like the worst part.
I know. I don't know why you hate it.
Well,
so fun.
Let's see. So, let's see, Lauren.
You want me to go first?
Hopefully they can edit this out while I have to think through this. But
no, this is the reason why we do this podcast, is so it shows that, you always don't have the answers. Sometimes you struggle to say what you want to say.
Let's see here, Lauren. Confession. I was thinking about something. Let's see. You go ahead.
Okay. So my lesson is, I think this is very applicable with our current situation, but life's greatest lessons are usually learned at the worst times.
Oh, wow.
That was a good one.
Yeah.
Okay. Then my confession, this has to do with you. You've obviously heard this story because you were there, but Taylor, my brother, who's a few years younger than I am, Coach Cook and I went to his hockey practice. This was back when you were coaching at Wisconsin. We were living in Madison. And the hockey rink, if anyone's seen a hockey rink, which everyone should know what hockey is because that's really the only sport on right now. It's, there's the wooden or plastic kind of barrier around the rink, and then there's like a clear plastic above that. So normally, so the puck doesn't get out. Well, the big clear barrier wasn't on top of the wood or the plastic bottom. So it was probably, what would you say, like 4 or 5 feet high?
It's probably like 3.5 feet.
Okay, 3.5 feet high. So Taylor was down at the other end of the ice rink. They were doing some drills. So I asked you to pick me up, put me over onto the ice. I think I was about 8 or 9 years old. And I was just standing on the ice, moving my feet around, holding on to the side. Well, then I hear skaters coming down to the end that you and I were on. And I was trying to, I think you were talking to someone. I was trying to get out of the ice rink because I didn't want to be in the way. And here comes Taylor as I'm, trying to swing my leg over to get back onto the side without the ice. Taylor checks me into the boards, as they say in hockey, because you always, I swear, every time he had hockey practice or a game, you would always tell him, like, you got to check people into the boards. You got to be physical. So he hit me and I toppled over, fell straight on my face, ended up breaking my nose. But at the time, Mom wasn't there, so it was just you. So you picked me up, blood's everywhere. I'm pretty sure I was concussed too. All these moms are staring at you. You take me into the men's restroom, stuff my nose with paper towels, and then put me in the car and said, you'll be fine. Just wait here till practice is over, and then we'll go home and see what Mom thinks. And if you need to go to the doctor, we'll take you to the doctor.
Yeah.
So resiliency training or something like that.
Absolutely, resiliency training.
So I'm pretty sure you were judged by every mom at hockey practice that night, but
no question I was.
I was fine. I ended up breaking my nose. We had surgery. It's fixed now.
Yeah.
I like my nose.
Beautiful, Lauren.
Yeah. That's my
confession. So here's my confession is that you have this so wrapped in my head right now that sometimes when I'm having conversations with my players or coaching staff, or I'm on a Zoom call or something, I want to say this. I want to say, okay, I have a confession for you. I'm going to confess to this. So that's always running through my head. I never do it, but it's like, okay, maybe I should just do a confession right now.
You should. The girls would love it.
I actually think I did it in one of our meetings. I'll confess to this. So anyway, that it's messing with my mind.
Beautiful.
And then what are we doing? Lessons learned?
Yeah, just a lesson.
Yeah, I think the biggest lesson that from that I think it's already talked about was it's really hard to stay motivated through COVID, and I think another lesson is our players. I think this is for everybody. If you're trying to work at something and you're trying to get better at something, it's a lot better to do it with people than by yourself. You're going to run faster, jump higher, work harder when you got people working with you, and as opposed to if you're just trying to go out there and do it by yourself. I mean, I think it takes, maybe a golfer or somebody can go do that, but in a team sport like volleyball, I think the lesson learned is, it's a social game, it's connection, it's working together. And that's what's been so hard about this COVID thing. And I've seen, like I said, I've been bragging about Lauren and Lexi. But we've had other players that really struggled with that and got way behind in their training. Now, again, we're trying to make it up. But and then the other thing, Lauren, I think lesson learned is I listened to your podcast with Dr. Whitman on the Performance Mountain. And I heard some things in there about when you were playing for me and Nebraska volleyball, and some of your stories were a little different than what I remember. So I learned quite a bit on that, and I would encourage everybody maybe take that. You did a great job, but I'm
How are they different?
I don't want to go into it right now, but I'm like, whoa, I remember that completely different. So maybe we shouldn't always believe everything we hear on a podcast.
Oh my gosh. You're delusional. You never
know.
remember anything.
I know, but yeah, that was yeah, some good times. So anyway, it was interesting to hear all that.
Oh, geez. Okay, well, we'll end it there. I've taken up enough of your time today.
All
You're
right,
starting
Lauren.
to lose it. Okay, well, thank you so much for watching, tuning in, and we'll see everyone next month with a surprise guest.
Okay, thanks, Lauren.
Thank you. Go Big Red.